The Horned Frogs of TCU won the toss and deferred, and they will be kicking off. Cole Bunce, sophomore from San Jose, California, will boot it away. Back deep, Steven Sims and Dalen Charlotte. And he will take a knee, and it'll be a touchback out to the 25-yard line. They will come. Well, we are happy to have those of you that watched that remarkable game in Manhattan, Kansas with us here on Fox as we begin play. Tim Brando alongside the coach Les Miles and my longtime friend and analyst, almost member of the family, Spencer Tillman.
Good to be here, Timmy B.
Yeah.
And Coach, the hat's with us, baby.
Are you ready to rumble?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Another beautiful night in Texas.
Taylor Martin is in the backfield. Remember, this is a Kansas team that lost Khalil Herbert to injury after a 291-yard performance against West Virginia. He did dress for the game, but he's not been cleared as yet to get playing time. At least that was the word that we got from the field before the game. Ross Blacklock, number 90, makes the stop for this TCU team that leads the Big 12 in defense. They're 17th nationally in scoring defense. What they do out of this 4-2-5 is pretty remarkable. Coach Miles and Spencer will be telling you about it a lot tonight. Taylor Martin in the backfield out of the shotgun. Quarterback Peyton Bender. Former Washington State backup to Luke Falk. Air mails it out of bounds. And it'll be 3rd and 7. Looking for Jeremiah Booker, number 8.
There's going to be a reoccurring theme tonight. That's one of the major reasons, Coach, while Kansas has got to win first down. 3 yards on first down is not enough. They're hamstrung right now, literally, at the running back position. They don't want to be one-dimensional against this tough defense.
He did not have to come out of the pocket. I mean, he just kind of took his time and he was not pressured.
Ryan Shatter, the former walk-on, plays both wide receiver and running back. 33 comes out of the backfield, and there's the tight end, Ben Johnson. He's been targeted many times. We welcome.
Let's go, O.
All right, we welcome those of you that just witnessed that incredible matchup between Kansas State and Oklahoma, won by the Sooners late. Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt had a remarkable game. Here at Amon G. Carter Stadium, the 39-point underdog Kansas Jayhawks. Biggest underdog in the history of primetime television, have a first down on their opening series and set up shop at the 41-yard line. With Les Miles and Spencer Tillman, Tim Brando, happy to have you with us. Taylor Martin takes it ahead for about a yard. Matt Bosa, number 9, for that outstanding TCU 4-2-5 defense, made the stop. Holly Saunders is also with us. She's down along the sidelines. You'll hear from her shortly. There's Gary Patterson, longest tenured coach in this league now that Bob Stoops has retired and Lincoln Riley has taken over. And remember, Coach Snyder had a 3-year respite between his 26-year run in Manhattan. Martin remains in the backfield on 2nd down and 8. Martin gets it. How about that penetration? Incredible penetration by this TCU defense. Shooting the gap was Chris Bradley, 56. Out of that nose position, senior from Shreveport's Evangel Christian Academy.
Well, Chris is an outstanding talent. You can see him shoot right through here. He gets in there with the forward push. That little inside move is a starboard or right side push. Penetration will destroy the best intentions on offense, Coach.
There isn't any question, and that's what TCU has to do. Now it's 3rd down and long. They're in a 3-down line front. And this is what they played the last long yardage. Now this is 3rd down and 20.
They got 8 in the secondary, and Bender's in trouble, and down he goes.
A sack on three defensive linemen in the game is really, basically they're just putting theirs back and come.
That's Banagoo, highly thought of. 24 tackles, 16 solos, and 8 tackles for losses that he's had so far this year. That's Cavante Turpin back deep awaiting this punt. And he is looking to make the fair catch and does. And that's where TCU will set up shop beyond the 30-yard line. Well, Spencer Tillman, look who's back. We got the hat. Les Miles is back with us.
Take it one time. Take it one
Good
time.
to have you.
Glad to be back.
Listen,
man.
we got the largest David in the history of David and Goliath in college football in prime time tonight. What do you make of Kansas's plight?
Well, they don't want to read the newspapers. They want to stay away from those things that say that they're not good enough. David Beatty believes in his team. He's been in that team room. He's seen how they work. You know, a year ago it was a 24-23 defeat that gives them a chance. Now the other side of the ball, I think the Football Frogs are ready to play.
Yes, they are, and they know what's at stake for them as the fourth-ranked team in the country. Nice spin move by Hicks. Kyle Hicks, you could argue, is the best running back this team had a year ago, but they've been so solid with guys like Darius Anderson and Honolua. He's been running third team, Spencer.
But look at the spin move and the ability to come out of that move under control a little bit up the field. That's the kind of movement they're going to need against this down front four of Kansas.
2nd down and 7. Hicks again. The Jayhawks defense has been playing tough. Let's get Tillman's takes for tonight.
Well, it comes down to this. It's really straightforward. If you're TCU, you got to be able to find their balance. We talked about the fact that under Kenny Hill, 70% completion right now. They're only running the ball about 56% of the time. I mean, that's actually the opposite of what their MO is. And then ultimately, if you're opposite of that, you got to get off the field on third downs. If they can do that, this is going to be another close call, Coach.
Kenny Hill in the shotgun. The senior from South Lake, transferred over from Texas A&M, has really become consistent. Looping one for Dodds, and he's got it. And the LSU transfer that once played for the Hat. A long game. Shaq Taylor, number 8, made the tackle 40 yards.
Diarse.
You love that kid.
Yeah, I love him. That's right. He's a great leader, tough kid, wonderful player, really a captain.
And they swing one out to Hicks, headed for the boundary towards the field, and he's going to be shoved out inside the 25 at the 24. That's Tyrone Miller, number 22, a strong safety who made the tackle. Spencer, I don't think there's any question that what Sonny Cumbie has done with this guy, and their percentage on third down is 24 of 32 coming into tonight.
Well, he's been outstanding. The completion percentage right there, 70% is outstanding. But what I'm telling you, that's really the story here is the fact that they're running the ball 56% of the time. You mentioned we talked to Sonny Cumbie. He says, look, I don't mind turning in my air raid card. The bottom line is if it produces a win, that's all that matters. And they're running the football now.
He's not all about branding. A little pitch, double reverse. It's Rager. He is a speed merchant. On the corner, he's got it inside the 10. It's Joe Dean, the lead tackler for this team. That's another player I know you love, but watch this lead block, Les.
Underneath here, you can see it from the other side. You got the quarterback. Hill is leading the convoy downfield, the tight end. That's a tandem. You usually don't get those pencil that guy
exactly
downfield
right.
block
Exactly.
before you engage.
That quarterback, he wants to be a part.
Kyle Hicks is the lone setback. They start with 1st and goal. There's Sonny Cumbie, one-time quarterback with the air raid at Texas Tech. He looks like he could still play with those golden locks of his along the sidelines, dialing him up. Hill dropped the snap, tries to add lib, and does manage a yardage. I think he got ahead to about the 6, so maybe a gain of a yard. Deneen making the stop.
If the ball hits the ground and the quarterback can field it, that's an advantage. Just simply put. Okay, you don't, if in the spot that you're in right now, you're in your first drive down in, and you're tight, you got to score. You do not need a turnover. Great job by Kenny Hill.
2nd down after the gain of 1 and goal. It's a fade. It's to the corner for Rager. Well covered that time by Hassan Defense. Yes, the perfect name for a shutdown corner. Number 13. Out of Jacksonville and Kilgore College. Pretty good defense there.
And they went to the field. The exciting thing about that is, again, they showed you some run action up front. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back inside zone. Even with this trip formation to the field, Coach, they made it look like run on that last play.
Yeah, but that ball was a little wide. It really thrown just out of bounds.
Trips to the top of your screen on 3rd and goal. Hicks remains the setback. A little bit of room. This is where he's dangerous. Hill rifles it. It's caught. It's touchdown. It's Denzel White.
Nice mobile quarterback, rolls to his right, gets somebody open in the end zone, makes a throw, seen it in the sand line 100 times. It's always been great.
Kenny does a great job of getting the ball to White. At least 2 receptions in the last 8 games going back to last season. You talk about a picture, model of consistency. Number 7 to number 10, Desmond White.
The 11th touchdown pass by Hill, and White with his 3rd receiving TD for Gary Patterson's club. Jonathan Song, homespun from here in Fort Worth, handles the extra point duties, and he puts it right through. Opening series for the Horned Frogs. And they mean business here in front of what is a fantastic crowd. One of the great places in college football now, Fort Worth, Texas. Fox College Football is sponsored by Dr. Pepper, the one fans crave, and by AT&T. Well, the 4th member of our broadcast team knows a little something about J.J. Henry's tailgate, and that's J.J. Henry's tailgate. One-time Ryder Cupper will be hearing from Holly in just a moment. Horned Frogs with a 7-0 lead over the Kansas Jayhawks. Bunce will boot it away, and Steven Sims Jr., number 11, is back deep. Dalen Charlotte also there. Jayhawks got 1 first down in their opening series. And then TCU got it, went straight down the field. Methodical drive with a lot of balance as usual. Sims decides to take the knee. Wise choice on his part. Became very close to the end line. Well, familiarity does breed contempt in the business of coaching, and these two offensive coordinators know each other very well, Ollie.
Yeah, perfectly said, Tim. Tonight, 2 familiar faces will square up, as you just mentioned, in Sonny Cumbie and Doug Meacham. Now, they were both sharing the offensive coordinator position at TCU for 3 years until Meacham surprisingly decided to leave for where? Kansas. And according to Coach Patterson, one of the reasons Meacham left was to be the main play caller, which will hopefully lead to a head coaching gig someday. But remember, Doug is coming off that 45-0 loss to Iowa State, which he called openly the worst game of his career, Tim. So Kansas has their hands full tonight with this TCU defense.
No doubt, and he did take it personally, no question. We had a long, or we thought we'd have a long conversation. It went rather abruptly because I think he was just in such a difficult mood from what had happened a week before. And Ben Benson that time trying to field that one off the turf. Les, you've been there before when your coordinators got a little down on themselves. What's your takeaway for where he is and where this team is right now?
Well, obviously he's trying to make ends meet, and he doesn't quite know. He didn't have a lot of answers, certainly for some tough questions, by the media. But he's things that he thinks is improving the Kansas team, and frankly, you can't question that in any way. I think the decision that Gary Patterson made was the right decision. Yep. So keeping Cumbie and allowing Coach Meacham to move on, certainly.
Quan Hampton lost 5 on that play. The reality is that Sonny Cumbie, a former quarterback, now dialing up plays for Gary Patterson, and Meacham is with Kansas, and his team before injuries to the offensive line had fared pretty well. That's Johnson on a quick cross. He's ahead to about the 25-yard line.
Kick.
And it's time to punt it away. So 3 and out for the Jayhawks this time. Ranthony Tejada was all over that play.
Yeah, a lot of pressure too. 54 Joe Rodneck's at that defensive tackle position. Another stunt. They like to do that up front, putting pressure on the quarterback.
And that series was pass. There were no back. It may be that they've kind of given up on the.
Well, that ball, there's got to be interference. A flag is down. Turpin did not have the room with which to work as he waved for that, a 43-yard punt. So they'll bring it back. That's Johnson, number 9, Kyron Johnson, a reserve linebacker that got in that zone that you simply cannot, and that's the reason for the penalty.
Kick catch interference. Kicking team, number 9. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 1st and 10.
Our referee is Mike DeFee tonight.
Timeout.
We've got a timeout. The Horned Frogs will have it for a second time when we return to Fort Worth. They have the lead in the early going. trying to stay unbeaten and keep on moving up. You could call TCU Rodney Dangerfield the top four. They began this season unranked.
It ain't easy being a Horned Frog, you know.
Then they hopped into the top 25. They jumped all the way into the top 10 after upsetting Oklahoma State. And then after last week's win over K-State, the Horned Frogs are sitting pretty at number 4 and the only undefeated team in the 12.
I get no respect.
There's Rager again. I love your Rodney Dangerfield, Spencer.
Spencer, that
How
is
good is that?
spectacular. No question.
Wish I could take him to all my speaking engagements to do some impressions. Rager, by the way, is one of the many speed emergents that they keep getting. Freshman from Waxahachie, Texas. He and Kennedy Snell, who you'll see a little bit later, number 16, are the two of the fastest players on this team. Cole Hunt, the tight end, moves into a slot to the right side.
2nd and 3, it's easy to call plays.
Yeah, little curl in for Turpin. And there's Cavante with a little wide receiver screen ahead for the first down to the 37-yard line.
Nice little route here. You don't have to do a whole lot. Just come off the ball and get back upfield really quickly. It's a nice route, particularly against soft coverage. The play distribution prior to that play, 4 passing, 5 running. Nice balance.
Kyle Hicks back in the backfield. And we'll take it on the zone read. Boy, look at him. That's the second or third time we've seen him use that spin move. Yards after contact, he can get them. And he's finally stopped by Isaiah Bean, number 19 for the Jayhawks. Sophomore from Houston, Texas. 2nd and 4 coming up. Gain of 6. Trips formation to the bottom of your screen. Hunt, the tight end, is in the middle. That's how far they spread him out. And again, with that formation, they use Hicks with everyone spread out, and he's very close to the first down. Joe Deneen makes the tackle.
Again, a 2nd down and 3 or 4 yard call. It's just they're gaining yards with every snap.
And another first down on the ground. They give him the good spot. This kid, Deneen, really plays hard every time out. Lawrence, Kansas native. There goes Hicks again over the right side, inside the 25 to the 23-yard line.
Well, they're just a steady drip, wearing a hole in the defense that, although playing game, particularly against Iowa State, despite what the scoreboard said, they are just methodically working their way down the field with this excellent balance that we talked about at the top of the show. And that guy right there, Patterson, is the one was the impetus of this change offensively last year from a 6-17. Great turnover.
Anderson on the stretch play gets it down to the 22-yard line. He's stopped by Mike Lee, number 11, sophomore from New Orleans.
Working from the 3 safety position, Lee came up and made a form tackle. You guys are watching at home. That's how you do it. Square him up, get low.
3rd down and 5. They've earned it. Let's see if they can make a play and get on and create a field goal or give them a decision for 4 on 4.
Yeah, the Jayhawks, as Spencer mentioned, Les, did play well defensively. They just had short fields to deal with a lot of turnovers and a lot of mistakes in special teams a week ago. Shewo Alawadua is in the backfield. He'll also sometimes play the Wildcat, and they go with a quick out pattern. That's complete to Sean Nixon. And Nixon is stopped at the 18-yard line. So gain of 4. Got 4th and a yard coming up.
And they would go for it. There's no reason we're not going to take a timeout and think about it. But I'll tell you, Kansas hadn't stopped them to this point. They've got excellent balance.
And if you turn it over at this end of the field, they certainly don't. It's not like you're really having a difficult time. You know, I mean, they're going to have to drive the length of the field.
Yep. They are going on 4th down here.
Good call.
They go Wildcat, as we mentioned. Alalua is the Wildcat quarterback, 33. And he's been very effective at this role. And he's got, it appears to be enough for the first down by, maybe a frog's hop right there. Looks like he got the proper spot, the right foot spot.
You know, the game of football is really easy. This guy's usually going to determine where the strength of the play is going to go. And if you feel like you've got a match and you can just man block up there front, Coach. It's just mano a mano.
And it was a heavy defense. They'd substituted some defensive linemen, and they had their call. So, but you're right. If you can go man on man and give it to the big back, that's generally a first down.
Well, Beatty wanted to get a look at it. I can certainly understand why. His defense spent a lot of time on the field last week and already a lot this week, and just by the nose, as we mentioned, a frog hop right there.
That was a frog hop.
Not necessarily a bullfrog. No. It could just be a regular little small little tree frog. Yeah, kind we see in our front porch from time to time. Well, they're now 3 of 7 on the year in 4th down conversions, TCU. David Beatty spent so much time as assistant coach.
Was a first down. That play is under further review.
Oh boy, asking for a review. See, that's very, very hard to pull off. I understand he's really trying to help his defense. In fact, he may be doing this just to give him a blow. But, you know, unless you have a camera right on the line, and unless you have a cart camera that is located on the field, and this is one of those stadiums that simply does not allow for it. It's a football version of Fenway Park. The stands are right on top of you. I don't think you're going to get a better angle than that. And if you use the term indisputable video evidence, I don't know that there's any way that they could change this. Although our friend Dean Blandino may have some other thoughts. Let's see. Dean, it's great to have you with us. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim. I think it's going to be very difficult to change this spot. You don't have a big line. There's really no look right down the line to gain. You have to get to the 17. Looks like the ball is right at the 17. I think they're going to have to let this call stand.
Yeah. It may be that Coach Beatty is simply saying, you know what, I want to give my guys a chance to breathe without calling a timeout. And he effectively does that here.
That's very positive, but it's they have to make the right call, too. I agree with Dean Blandino. That's exactly the right view.
The ruling on the field stands, first down.
There was a very big reversal on a spot call in the Syracuse-Miami game earlier today. But again, you've got to have the kind of camera angle that's necessary.
Ooh.
Wow.
And
that one was a different one.
You know, that ball was seated in his lap.
Yeah.
Right? And when his butt hit the
angle.
Yeah. I think that may have been the argument that Beatty had.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the lap was facing his direction so he could see where the ball was positioned.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Darius Anderson is in the backfield now. All over the middle. That's the big guy. Did he get in? He's very close to the 1 yard line. Yep. 16-yard pickup.
Nice slant. Good strong catch. Took it to the end zone.
The ex-receiver did a fantastic job against that soft coverage look. That's like stealing. Used to watch Jerry Rice do that and smile. Usually he was going to be in the end zone after that kind of a cushion on the slant route.
They set up with power, and it's Darius Anderson, number 6 in the backfield. On the read, he'll take it, and he is stoned right at the line of scrimmage. Good work up front there by Tornetta. Bryce Tornetta, the sophomore, Free State High School, Lawrence, Kansas, who's really played well for Clint Bowen's defense.
Watch this inside zone read on this next play. If they run with it, he can option off this guy that's off the ball uncovered.
Got it again, and he was stopped in his tracks immediately, and it's number 1, Tornetta again, along with Joe Deneen. 2 of the best linebackers you're going to find anywhere. I don't care what this team's record is. These 2 linebackers, Deneen 29 and Tornado number 1, have played really well.
You talk about run fits. Clint Bowen, the defensive coordinator for Kansas, had his guys lined up in position like a glove. Each one reaches, coach. That's what it's about, playing integrity on defense.
Olana Love, the lone setback, number 33. It's a play fake. Hill to the back of the end zone, incomplete. Really well defended there in the perimeter. Cole Hunt, the intended receiver. Tyrone Miller, 22, in coverage. This was outstanding perimeter coverage.
It's just press coverage again. The nice move to stem him and get him footed. Durst goes to the back of the end zone, and that's where he's trying to get it. But again, the thing that's fun is every play on the field is locked down. You talk about discipline, that's inspired discipline all over the field. And then the hit finish on the opposite side.
And the quarterback makes a big play and throws it out of bounds. instead of putting it up for grabs, he give one guy a chance to make the catch, and then it was going to be out of bounds.
Jonathan Song now will try a chip shot here of 19 yards, and he puts it through. He is 6 out of 6 this year. Horned Frogs lead by 10 here in Fort Worth. David Beatty's defense, though, had a victory of sorts. It's the NFL on Fox, a full slate of games featuring Drew Brees against the Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers. The Saints are above 500 for the first time in a long while for Sean Payton. Other games, Jets, Dolphins, Cardinals, Rams, Bucks, and Bills. And don't forget, it all begins with NFL Sunday. Kurt Menefee and the guys in Los Angeles. What a busy, busy week for all of the Fox family. Games of football on FS1 all day today. This is the third of 3 football games on Fox, and of course the 7th game of the League Championship Series in the American League is on FS1 tonight. This is where we earn our bones, and we'll be back with more activity here in Fort Worth with favored TCU up by 10 with 1:41 remaining in the first. Fox College Football is sponsored by Element Electronics, Power On, and by Allstate, official protector of college football fans. 10-0 our score here in Fort Worth. Tim Brando, Les Miles, and Spencer Tillman. Holly Saunders is down along the sidelines. Gary Patterson's team looking to get to 7-0 after having a 6-7 season a year ago. The art of bouncing back has been handled in short order by Gary Patterson in his career here. Ryan Shadler is in the backfield on 1st and 10 for KU. Peyton Bender remains the quarterback. They go empty. Bender out pattern, and that's when short hopped along the sidelines. Let's send you to Greg Wolf in Los Angeles for this AT&T game break.
Tim, thanks. Top 20 battle at Beaver Stadium. Michigan trailing 14-0 to Penn State. 4th and goal at the 1, and Jim Harbaugh gambles, and it pays off. Karan Higdon for the score. They'd missed the point after. Penn State leads 14-6 second quarter. Tim, Spencer, Les, back to you.
We got a Michigan man, remember, up here in the booth, Spencer T.
That's exactly right.
And Coach just let me know that 3 of 5 isn't going to cut it. Kansas has got to pass the ball at some point in time.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert has made his first run in some time. He's missed a couple of games. He's been held out with a hamstring problem from the Iowa State game. Didn't play it down. Before that, he had rushed for 428 yards over 2 games. That's the 3rd best total in KU history, and he had 291 against West Virginia. If they can get anything, I mean anything out of him tonight, Spencer, it could help Bender in the passing game.
Well, it's all about achieving some modicum of balance, and it doesn't have to be the perfect balance that TCU enjoys. It's just enough to keep them honest and create run-pass conflicts on those 3rd and 2nd down scenarios.
They got a former tackle playing at center because Rybordy has been hurt. This team has really been banged up, and there you see great penetration again. Sims, who's an outstanding receiver, stopped immediately by Ridwan Isahaku, number 31. Just call him Red. I know Les has been working on that pronunciation.
Isahaku showed you tremendous ability to come upfield. Watch him read this and react. Runs right past the fullback that was trying to block him. Isahaku did a fantastic job of his technique.
This offense has got to give their defense a breather. Moves, punts it away. Turpin lets it bounce, and it'll go dead at the 33-yard line. That's a 44-yard boot, and once again, that Kansas defense will be taxed yet again.
Tactically, putting that ball into the boundary so that Turpin can't bring it out. If they were kicking that ball into the middle of the field, that would be a real, because that Turpin is a special guy in the return.
Sounds like a head coach that used to handle special teams there, Spence.
That's right. Well, he understands the value when Coach talks about the boundary. Yep. He's talking about that short side of the field as opposed to that wide area that's the opposite side, you know, so where you are on the field matters what your strategy is going to be.
You're looking at Clint Bowen, the defensive coordinator there, who's done a really good job with this defense. As depleted as the offense has been, they've been on the field a long, long time, and they're not particularly deep.
It's a blitz.
It's well read and going long. It's Williams, incomplete. Taj Williams, the intended receiver. Shaquille Taylor, number 8, was with him.
Number 8 had real catch-up speed. He was beaten initially, and he caught up to the play.
Hassan defense just knocked it. Hill right here from the back. A tremendous job of screaming off that corner. It was a delayed blitz. Despite the ball being thrown, that was affected by defense coming off that edge.
Hill now 6 out of 9 for 76 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Hicks is in the backfield on 2nd and 10. Hicks will carry it on the delay. He's ahead to the 40. Pickup of about 7. Heath Loneker made the tackle, and we've come to the end of 1. A lot of people wondered why Kansas was on tonight. Well, they're trying to show you that in college football, anything can happen. Did you not notice 7 top 25 teams lost last week? KU knows that. How about you? Some of the great names, TCU football. In more recent years, LaDainian Tomlinson had kind of got things going all the way back when Franchione was the head coach, and the coordinator was Gary Patterson. He stayed on. We go all the way back to Davey O'Brien and slinging Sammy Baugh, TCU lore. There's Cole Hunt on the receiving end for a first down out to the 48 on what was a 3rd down and 4 play. Really hit hard, though, by Hassan defense right there.
Defense really got underneath him, man. He went cartwheeling up. Got him on the thigh pads, coach. That's how they coach it up.
The contact was with the ground, and that was painful.
Hunt checks out of the game. Kyle Hicks comes back in at the tailback spot. Play fake. Hill was looking for Ty Slanina. Ty had a great season a couple of years back and has been beset by injuries the last couple of years. He's taken a few hits tonight, fellas.
Boy, they're coming off the end screaming. Again, whether or not it was defense on the opposite side, they're coming from both sides with those corner cat blitz. Kenny Hill has got to be discerning where that pressure's coming from, or either step up in the pocket or be able to check out of that play at the line of scrimmage, because they're tagging him.
Or throw it right there, because where the void is where they blitz generally.
And this is a defense coach that's the one he's seeing is the same one his team plays.
No question.
That 4-2-5 is something that TCU's been playing here for quite some time, with converted running backs playing safety. That's Darius Anderson taking it ahead into Kansas territory. Gain of 6.
Darius is the smaller of the backs that are in there at 5'10", but he's still strong at 210. You know, he's kind of like a little physics lesson coming at you. Got good quicks, but when he hits you, he brings it all.
Keep an eye on Dorrance Armstrong coming off that edge, number 2.
They're showing a pressure look here with just 3 down linemen, coach, and this is
in 0 coverage.
Yep. So no coaches talking about 0 coverage. If you're watching at home, no safeties back here. 0 safeties on the back end.
Hill out of the shotgun delivers, and what a hit on Anderson, and a shy of the first down. That's Big Joe Deneen. And when I say big, he plays big. He may only be 230, but he plays much larger than that. I think he took the brunt of his own hit there. It's 4th down and a yard to go.
Deneen is active, he's strong, he's physical, and he's smart. You know, he's the type of player that does a tremendous job, whether it's out here or the inside, the spin move underneath, coming, forcing the run. Just a textbook tackle at the point of the attack. Deneen is an excellent football player.
Either of you surprised they're not going for it here on 4th and 1? The ball on the plus side of the field?
It's really 10-0. No, I step punt down there and make it defense.
Gotcha.
Make them go the long way.
Little end over end by Nunez to Sims. We talked about Deneen laying the lumber. I think he may have gotten a stinger himself. He was so good at this. Wow, what a hit. Shake out the cobwebs. You can make a case that it really got going here at TCU in the modern era with LT. LaDainian Tomlinson, whose Hall of Fame jacket and bust can be seen over at the Sean Meyer Arena, the brand new arena, and he was honored here just moments ago during that timeout.
Well, he was a rare combination of speed and power. Wasn't the tallest guy in the world, but certainly dependable. In that regard, he reminds me of Emmitt Smith as a
loyal to his teammates. He was something special.
Khalil Herbert is in the backfield, the leading rusher for this Kansas team, who's been hampered by a problem with his hamstring, and there's this fumble on the snap. And it's these kinds of things that have bothered this program all these years. And the names may change, but the problems are the same.
Well, you can look at his eyes, and his vision was not on the ball. I mean, he wasn't ready for it. His eyes were actually focused the opposite direction.
This is what happens when you've got to tackle. Zach Hannon moving over to center. Ribordi is out. That's the 5th negative play of the game for Kansas.
They got to be real careful here. Back up, get that ball out.
Play fake. Over the middle on the cross to the tight end, Big Ben Johnson. He's ahead to the 9, so that gives them a little room with which to work.
Nice play, but imagine that's just the 8th pass of the game from the nice inside zone. His eyes comes up. He shows the comfort and the confidence despite being backed up in his end zone there, Coach. So it belies the nervousness and then the subsequent drop of the ball down here. Press up against your own end zone.
Well, he came right back and made a nice throw and catch, and now they'll get 3rd down and 9. Got to convert or they punt.
And they're spreading them out 5 wide, no backs.
Underneath they go to Sims on a check down, and that's simply not going to do it. A loss of yardage again. That's the 6th negative play recorded by this KU offense, and they're simply not giving their defense a chance to breathe. Another 3 and out.
Yeah, I put that on Sims. He had a chance to go up the field. Williams was right there. That was just a bad decision, bad run.
There were 2 receivers running parallel, very close together too. So I don't know I don't know the design was there either.
Moose boots it away. Got it off the side of his foot. Not a good punt. And they will mark it way up around the 35-yard line. Kansas got its first down on its opening possession, 0 cents. Last week, the problem was special teams. I mean, against Iowa State, they allowed a return for a touchdown. They muffed one of their own, had an errant snap, shanked a punt, which is what they just did a moment ago. And that shank punt went 2 yards. This is the touchdown return on the punt. So if you're getting beaten that badly in special teams, the third aspect of this sport, you're in a lot of trouble, particularly if your offense isn't getting it done.
And this was off the offside of his foot here, and again, that one goes to the right. Just didn't get all of that one.
Got a 29-yard boot, Spencer, at a time when they really needed a boomer. Anderson remains in the backfield on 1st and 10. This is just power football right up the gap, and it's Armstrong, Lawrence Armstrong, making the tackle. Preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Think about how good you must be to get that much attention at that position when your team has been in the position that this team has been in. Only 1 conference win a season ago, and that was against Texas, of course. You see Daniel Wise having a conversation with Kenny Hill.
Ball start. Offense, number 64. He was going down in his stance as the ball was snapped. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That's Matt Pryor, the guard.
Dorrance Armstrong is also the captain of the team. In other words, he's that kind of guy that is fast and athletic, plays pad under pad, really handles the edge.
Bowen loves him. Absolutely loves him. Go with that wide receiver looking screen, and there's Cavante Turpin. Spin, baby, spin.
Oh, my God.
Inside the 25 to the 20.
That shows you how explosive he is.
Well, when he comes back and sets here, it's on right now. It's Turpin time. Watch him smell and sift through all of those runners. Now that is smoke through a keyhole. Watch him fly. He's like a whirling dervish to flying Walinda. Watch him. Oh, yes, sir. Well, that's athleticism there now.
We have an injury on the field. We'll check out the circumstances.
Oh, he's fun to watch.
Isaiah Bean, 19, a concern that the medical staff has for Kansas. The whirling dervish I really like, but you also threw in a flying Walinda.
Yeah, that's right, man.
An old trapeze team, for those of you that maybe aren't old enough to know. I've actually used that one in basketball from time to time, like a flying Walinda.
Well, you can see, here's the shot there. Again, that's where the collision hurt. And when you got big heavies coming up down the field trying to knock you.
That kid is something else. Junior from Monroe Neville High School, one of the all-time great high school programs in our home state, Les.
No question.
Veteran Charlie Brown, no longer with us, was a Hall of Fame high school coach. My first broadcasting job was doing Neville High in 1971.
And Charlie Brown is a fantastic name.
Yep.
And a very, obviously, a very quality coach. And what a great career he had.
Yeah, he did. Revered in Northeast Louisiana. That's Olalolua, stopped by Tornado #1, the sophomore. Boy, that kid's been everywhere tonight for Kansas. There are a lot of things to be impressed with along that Jayhawks defense. They've been playing against a short field tonight, just as they did with Clint Bowen last week in the rain in Ames, Iowa.
And Tornado did an excellent job in that nickel position coming up and forcing the run. You can see him sneaking around up here. I mean, he's a great player, unwilling to run away.
2nd and 12. They fake it to Olalolua. They get the little flare pass out to Anderson. Nothing doing. Again, great recognition by the strong safety Miller. Yeah.
Tyrone Miller really did a fine job from his strong safety position and minimizing the damage on that play. It had the potential to create a one-on-one matchup. And again, you got to like what we've seen so far for these skill position players of TCU to win those individual battles.
Yeah, Bryce Tornado went inside, and if he would have not made that tackle, that ball would have gone to the end zone.
Yep.
Desmond White was a big go-to receiver in that touchdown drive. Number 10. He's now flanked to the top of your screen. Hill fires for the corner. Touchdown!
Was that a beautiful throw?
Well, you can see the route coming here in the back. It's a switch route. 18, the nod to the back corner. And again, Lee did a fantastic job for a moment, but then the nod got him on the inside, coach, and he went to the corner. Outstanding job. Again, putting pressure on the quarterback despite the completion. They've been after Kenny Hill all night, but he'll trade that for a touchdown any day.
Yeah, and Kenny Hill made a great throw with really in the grasp of the defender. Kind of got his chest out, delivered the ball right where it needed to be.
Third touchdown of the season for Rager. The fastest flanker available in that set. One of Waxahachie, Texas' finest. And the lead is 17. Fox College Football is sponsored by the 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar. There you see Jalen Rager on the receiving end, culminating a rather short drive coming off a poor punt. First of 6 FBS freshmen to lead his team in both receiving yards and touchdowns. Kid is outstanding, and as I said, he and Kennedy Snell, who you'll hear from later tonight, number 16, who's even faster than Rager, both played on the same high school team in Waxahachie, Texas, just a year ago. The job that has been done in recruiting at TCU, and especially in the last 5 years, has been nothing short of amazing. Here's Steven Sims Jr. bringing it back.
Nice return.
Good cut back there, and he is ushered out of bounds at the 28-yard line. Well, time now for us to take a look at our Ford unstoppable player, and right now that's Kenny Hill.
He's tearing it up. 11 to 15 for 126 yards. Huge 187 quarterback rating at this point. 8 different receivers to this point have at least 1 reception. That's what number 7 means to this team. And again, the run game haven't even gotten, but you look at the third down numbers that he's putting up. Unbelievable. He's a talented guy. Took him a year after going to junior college and sitting out after leaving A&M. He's finally settled into that quarterback position, and he's leading this team in a quiet kind of way.
Taylor Martin is in the backfield again. Kansas in search of their first down since the opening series of the game. And they've reached a point now where it's almost a must-make. And there's a sack to start. And it's Matt Bosa, number 9, that comes in that outside linebacker position to make the play.
Matt Bosa, hair flowing. He's coming on the outside. You can see him right here. He's working it. The nice dip move, giving up 60 pounds almost to that left tackle out there.
Hey,
I didn't need you. But he dips and gets in there, Timmy. That's what the speed and quickness will do.
They call him Sunshine because of those locks of his, like the Titans. Yeah. Remember the quarterback and remember the Titans called Sunshine?
That's him.
His teammates call him that based on the hairdo alone. Well, I remember those days. Martin trying to get back to the original line of scrimmage. up ahead of the 27. It's been those negative plays. There's the error we were talking about. Nick Orr made the tackle. Fellas, it's been the negative plays, the loss of 5, 6, or 7 on first down. Les, you're behind the chains all night long.
You are, and you line up in no back, and they come after you, and even the guy that's beaten by, bettered by 60 pounds, runs over the tackle because he knows the play.
Yeah. It's pin your ears back time. 3rd and 13. Bender on a fly pattern, incomplete. Pass was overthrown. Quan Hampton had a step on Isahaku, 31. Ridwan was in coverage there, the junior from Norcross, Georgia.
Even more pressure on Bender there, inside game working. And on those 4, when they get down there in this offensive scheme, this defensive scheme front for TCU, they are heavy, they're athletic, they're quick. Again, they may not be the biggest in the world, but they look for those matchups and they exploit them.
Now we got a flag down, pre-snap.
Yeah, the left guard or tackle jumped.
Ball start. Offense. Number 20. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Well, they're going to attack Emmanuel Moore for that penalty. David Beatty, we mentioned, got the job 3 years ago after Charlie Weiss was let go. Actually, Clint Bowen was in a position of interim coach when they played TCU at the time, number 4 in the country, off their feet in November. A lot of people thought Bowen might get the job. He didn't. Beatty got it and just got a contract extension after the win against Texas last year. There's Turpin. Sometimes you can outkick your coverage. That was a fine kick, no doubt about it, by Moose. 53 yards, -5 on the return. Long, beautiful hair. It can happen. I remember I once had it happen to me. We mentioned the uphill climb that it's been for David Beatty. Mark Mangino actually had his team in a 1-versus-2 game against Missouri. Turner Gill only a couple of years. The Charlie Weiss disaster was exactly that, a disaster they're still paying for. David Beatty comes in as head coach, as we mentioned, got a contract extension on the basis of beating Texas. By the way, Clinton Bowen, who is tried and true and has been with Kansas through all of that, was going to be hired as his coordinator no matter what. And if Clint had gotten the job, he and Beatty are so close, he would have hired Beatty to be his offensive guy. So these two guys work as hard as they can. They have had a facilities issue. Only recently did the school say, you know what, we're going to upgrade our stadium, which is in dire need of that. And the question of commitment has come into play. But the reality is, until you get some playmakers on offense, you've seen how hard they play defensively, fellas. They do. Clint Bowen is in an uphill track because his team is playing with a short field time and time again.
Well, it's no mistake that they've got the 2 best guys, in my opinion, right now for this transition. This guy David Beatty has endless amounts of energy, focus. He is consistent in terms of his leadership.
Very positive about his team. He and Clint as well. Both guys are just you can enjoy listening to their energy when you're asking them questions about Kansas.
But they're also realistic. They know at some point you got to get wins. This is their 44th road game as a program without a victory on the road. And the cumulative numbers just don't add up. And so there is a sense of urgency and that they need to recruit better, get better talent out of the state of Texas. As you see, Hill dunked. That's Tornado again, number 1, who's been really playing with reckless abandon all night for Kansas defensively. This is the youngster from Lawrence, Kansas.
You can see him sneaking off this edge over here on the corner. Again, he doesn't have to avoid the flat route is in front of him, so he's not a target to be blocked. He just makes a fine play coming off that blitz look, off that little slot.
So 3rd and 16. Defense has done all that it can to maintain contact with TCU. Hill stepping up this time, lets it fly, and it's caught. That's Diaz. Big John Diaz, touchdown.
Darcius coming here, and Lee is working on the back end of this from the safety position. Bad angle, number one, coach, and he probably should have took a higher pitch. Again, just a tremendous job of protection, first of all, across the board. Look at it. There's no place where you see a breach up front. The protection is just perfect. And again, Lee from that safety position tried to come over. Again, two things. Poor angle. Should have come more of a pitched angle over the top. At least had a shot of knocking out of his hand. And perhaps, if he had recognized it, maybe could have picked that ball off.
Coach Hill, the quarterback Hill, drives the ball into that seam too. Makes it a really nice catch and an easy execution for John.
Hey, those touchdowns, fellas, in the air for Kenny Hill came on 3rd and 13 and 3rd and 17. Giving long distance, he'll dial it up, and the former Tiger gives the hat a welcome.
That's exactly right.
In Fort Worth. Fox College Football is sponsored by King's Hawaiian Foods, irresistible since 1950. And by ExxonMobil. Energy lives here. Great memories. Andy Dalton, now a Bengal. Touched on LaDainian Tomlinson being honored tonight, the Hall of Famer. See those national championship years. That's a lot of rich tradition going back pre-World War II here at TCU. We mentioned Slingin' Sammy Baugh and Davey O'Brien. Jayhawks trail by 24, and again, they're statistically at the end, you give up some big plays, but the inability to get first downs and get their defense off the field has been the problem. Well, this kick is going to be through the end zone. Let's take another look at this touchdown, fellas, and draw it up for me, Spence.
Well, here's the safety back here. This is Lee, and I'm going to clear this out, but I'm going to show you exactly what he needs to be doing. He needs to cover this deep third of the field once this receiver passes the outside corner. And if we roll it and put it in action, you can see he's into his back pedal. His eyes discipline is working toward that seam route, but he's a little late breaking on that ball. It was a well-thrown ball, as you said, Coach, about as perfect as it can get. But that's a safety's dream to see that ball floated up there.
Right, but the definition of the coverage there was as if the inside receiver were to go vertical, he had to stay on the hash and cover the vertical. That pause made him late for the break, but it was the conception of the route was great. But then again, Kenny Hill throws a great ball, and what a great execution that was.
And there's a blitz by Trayvon Howard, 32, coming off the edge to get that. Look at this. He was unblocked right here.
Boy, this is a slobber knocker right here. Unblocked, as you said, Tim. That's just a telltale sign. And again, the other direction, the quarterback's eyes doesn't even see it coming. Those are the ones that you actually prefer to have, because
the quarterback's got to be responsible for that.
He's got to pick that up. You're
Turn
right.
the line away from it, and then now there's one that comes. You got to get rid of it.
And the recurring nightmare being behind the chains again for Bender at quarterback. Now on the shallow cross, it's Johnson, the tight end, and he's ahead to the 26-yard line. Let's get to Greg Wolf for a game break in Los Angeles.
Tim, thanks. Over on FS2, number 23, West Virginia in Waco, taking on Baylor. Will Greer finds David Sills' 35-yard touchdown, his 13th touchdown reception of the season. That leads the nation. Mountaineers lead 10-6 second quarter. Tim, Spencer Les, back to you.
Dana Holgerson's team has played well all season long, gave this TCU team some fits. There's no denying how good they are offensively, and Greer, one of the top transfer quarterbacks in college football this year. Here's Bender, just a mix-up and a lot of pressure coming his way again on 3rd and long for Steven Sims. And again, it begins with a loss of 5 or a loss of 6 every first down.
Once again, pressure off the outside. You can see Peyton never saw it coming. Again, number 32, that same guy. But I'm not so sure on the back end of that. If she didn't have her high heels on that one, she kind of pulled her arms back on that, Coach.
Going all Jerry Glanville on us, are you? Cole Moose to punt it away, and there's Turpin back deep. Cavante lets it bounce, and that was not a wise choice, as it will be whistled dead at the 6-yard line. Well, what's coming up at halftime? Our very busy crew, led by one Rob Stone, tells us about it.
Coming up on the State Farm halftime drama in Manhattan between number 9 Oklahoma and K-State. See the OT play that resolved 10th-ranked Oklahoma State and Texas, plus USC and Notre Dame in a playoff elimination game in South Bend. Tim, Coach, Spencer, see you at the break.
You can argue. Thank you, Rob. We look forward to it. I know how busy you've been. He's the man for all seasons, Stoner. He Soccer during the week, football, or another brand of football, as some may call it, on the weekends.
He's a master of many, failure of few.
That's right.
He's pretty good.
That was a 67-yard boot, by the way. That may be the best play for Kansas offensively all night. Darius Anderson in the backfield is really the first really poor field position of the night for TCU. And right away, here goes Kenny Hill. His ability to run. I thought when we spoke, Les, to Gary Patterson about the change in the balance, he said, we figured out this is not a 50-pass guy. They now know who he is, and they're coaching accordingly.
Yeah, but when he comes here, Mike Lee is going to come up, and he's going to run right past him. This is the inside zone read, and eyes discipline, not in that play. They were looking inside, looking for that dive, and he took him to the outside edge. Nice.
Knowing your personnel really does matter. That pass incomplete. He was going deep for Kennedy Snell, the speed merchant we talked about. That's a high school teammate of Rager.
Fastest player on the team, and then I thought he had a chance. He just overthrew that ball, Coach.
Yeah, to go back to the big game by Kenny Hill.
Yeah,
that safety came down, and Kenny Hill was his guy. Period.
But I think, you know, understanding your personnel, and sometimes when you get a transfer, it takes some time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
This kid, I think, maybe put too much on himself last year. They were in transition. Spencer, we saw this team late last season. We saw him lose at home here to Oklahoma State, as you see Anderson twisting and turning his way beyond the 35 to the 37. This is not at all the same team that we saw just a few months ago, Spence.
Yeah, but I think also the point that needs to be made is one of the great leadership lessons. Of course, Kenny came here with a little bit of baggage, right? And that guy right there did a tremendous job of allowing him to sequester and not come immediately. And again, there's a face mask on this particular play.
55 is now wearing number 98.
Yeah, that one was missed.
Yep. Well, again, to close the book on Gary Patterson, the decision that he made, Kenny Hill going away for that year, had to sit out, obviously, not even on campus active. So I think that kind of allowed the garbage and the white noise to disappear for a year.
Alana Lua here on the Wildcat. They'll use him in that position many times. He gets ahead to the 40-yard line.
Third down.
Another first down.
Third down and 1. Great time to put him in the backfield and let that big back rumble.
I mean, right now the playbook is just wide open, isn't it? I mean, they can run just about, Spencer, anything they like.
Well, and again, you mentioned the trick play, Turpin, earlier. They used that against West Virginia to seal that one away and threw it back to their quarterback. I wouldn't put anything past them. They can do it. Book's wide open.
Here's Hill going with the out route to Rager. After a previous touchdown, to talk about the kind of leadership that he has. He wasn't as engaged as he is now. That's an example of it right there, fellas.
Well, leadership is about demonstration, and you have to earn it, you know. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And it's really difficult to do it. Right now, the way he's playing, he could run from there.
You know, he would come off the field at times after making a mistake, would have a smile on his face. And Gary Patterson told us, you know, I didn't quite get that. It took me a while to understand why he was smiling after a poor play. As you see Anderson ahead for a couple of yards. And Spencer, you had a great thought that I think opened Patterson's eyes a little bit as a player.
Well, what was it? I don't recall what I said to him, but you know what? We talked about a lot of good stuff. And
you said nervousness. You said sometimes when you're nervous, there's Lawrence Armstrong is down. But you said a player sometimes when he's upset and maybe really not enamored with his own play will sometimes hide that by going the other way, smile about it rather than cry.
Absolutely. And he had to learn his players, and that's really important for leadership. You do more time observing how and learning the characteristics, and I'd love to have coaches input on that. We had players back in the day, Buster Rhymes and others, who Barry Switzer had the ability to discern what their personality was, so when a guy smiled, that's nervous energy to some of them.
Yeah.
You got to coach everybody the same differently.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, it's just a fact. You want to have a disciplined team. You want them to think team. You want them to envision leadership. And you get to those positions different ways.
Coach, that's one of the wisest nuggets a coach could ever utter. And that was one of the great lessons that Vince Lombardi talked about, asked how he was able to get players to play at a high level from disparate backgrounds. He says, it's easy. I treat everybody the same. And as you said, Coach, different. Everybody has a story, and you got to know it.
Sean Robinson is coming to the game, the backup quarterback. They have a package of run plays for him, and generally speaking, he's going to tote it if he's in there. He stopped really at the line of scrimmage on that play on third down.
First third down that they have missed at this point in the game.
It's amazing.
They have converted on 4th down, and the question will be whether they go for it or not. The last time they were at this position in the field, as a matter of fact, they were on the plus side. They chose to punt.
And alternately, Coach, Kansas is just one of 7.
We got a marker down. I didn't see it until late. We do have preliminary indication false start.
Illegal formations, 5 men in the backfield, offense. Penalties decline, 4th down.
4th down and 2.
Yep.
Now he punted the last time he was given this opportunity.
Kansas is elected to go on the
But the
snap.
score's different. Score's 24-0.
By the way, the loss of Armstrong as he left the field injured, he did get off on most of his own power. That's their best defensive lineman. So there's got to be some concern for Clint Bowen that Dorrance Armstrong is okay, and we'll do our best to find out his availability for the second half as soon as we can. They have chosen to go ahead and punt it away, as they did earlier. Andy Nunez, TCU now with 305 total yards. Kansas with 4.
30 seconds.
That's domination. Timeout taken. We'll be back. 24-0 our score, along with Les Miles, Spencer Tillman, and Holly Saunders, Tim Brando. And you see along the sidelines there, Peyton Bender, who has really had a difficult night. You know, they had a nice opening series, and then when we joined you after the conclusion of that exciting Oklahoma win against Kansas State, they were stuffed on the following series and haven't gotten a first down since. High punt and a fair catch called for by Sims Jr. at the 20. That's a 31-yard boot. And coming up on the State Farm halftime show, Rob Stone, Matt Leinart, Robert Smith, Dave Wanstadt, with all the stories and ongoing games tonight of great interest. USC and Notre Dame. Almost an elimination game, one might suggest, where the college football playoff possibilities are concerned. And that Oklahoma State win against Texas, sometimes, Les, you just need to survive and advance, and that's my takeaway from that game earlier today.
No question about it.
Well, that was the matchup against the youngest coach in the FBS versus the oldest coach in the FBS. The wise one almost got him.
Notre Dame up big, we understand it, on USC. 28-0 in the early going as Khalil Herbert takes it ahead for a few yards. 2nd and 8.
That Notre Dame's got a big offensive line, big defensive line, and they have skill.
Makes that Georgia win look even more impressive now, the way Notre Dame's played since that defeat at home. Kansas knew that their defense was stout and could make a few plays, but they were going to have to get a break from their offense and have something good happen. As you see Herbert stopped by Blacklock, it's apparent that Herbert is not 100%. He's had hamstring problems that have beset him, didn't play at all last week, and he was a late decision on whether to go.
Blacklock was a guy that we were chasing very significantly at LSU, and he's a big, good-looking. I mean, if you were to see him, in street clothes, which we did yesterday, he was a spectacular-looking man.
Another 3rd and long here, and they give it to Herbert. That's almost, is it not? I mean, it's
Blacklock again.
Yeah, Blacklock all over it. You're right. He is a big guy.
Big, good-looking man.
That's why you wanted him, and look where you wound up. That's the story at halftime. 7 straight scoreless quarters for Kansas. It's 24-0. Now let's get you to Los Angeles, the State Farm halftime show. As you look at our Geico first half stats, my partner Spencer Tillman loves to talk about how do you roll with a full cup of success. Well, we know this, Spence, after the first half. TCU is rolling just fine. I mean, they are handling their success fine right now on both sides of the ball.
And Coach can appreciate the fact that those rushing numbers aren't necessarily gaudy at 97. Yeah. It's the balance they're able to achieve, and you keep them off. The net result, 13 first downs. And again, the heavy lifting was done by Hicks, Rieger, and Anderson. Of course, Kenny Hill had that 14-yarder, and then the 22-yarder. Some negative yardage kind of took it back, but it was the fact that they had control of it. And then alternately on the other side of the ball, this #1 rated defense in the conference claiming eminent domain, Coach, living in the backfield, owning that territory like it was theirs. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that defense is the #1 defense in the conference, and they're playing like it.
No doubt about it. And they will get the football to open the second half as they defer to begin the game, and it goes through the end zone for a touchback. And that's where the Horned Frogs will take over. Liam Jones with a nice boot.
Well, Coach talked about it before we went to the break. Kansas has got to find a way to throw the football and move the chains. If they can't, this is going to continue to be an ugly affair. They've got 1 first down, Coach. 1 first down to 13.
And that happened on the opening series. And I believe, without question, Clint Bowen's got to be saying to himself, if our 3rd down and long defense gets a little bit better, then we could be pitching a shutout. Because it's when TCU's at 3rd and 13, 3rd and 17, Hill is hit on touchdown passes. They're swinging out to Desmond White. He gets to the 35-yard line before being pushed back. Holly Saunders has more with the coaches at halftime.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Beatty after halftime, and I asked him how to get this offense moving, and he said, we haven't scored in the last 6 quarters. I challenged my guys to get out there and get after TCU, to really show up and play in the second half. And Coach Patterson huddles his team up on the field before they actually go to the locker room, and he was fired up as well and just said, 30 more minutes, guys. Come on, Tim.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Patterson, that's a ritual with him. No matter the score, no matter how they played, he'll meet with his team before they head to the locker room. That's Tyrone Miller making the stop of Hicks. And here we go with a 2nd down and 2 after the gain of 8.
Everything about Gary Patterson is a business trip. I can guarantee you that.
His walkthrough yesterday was as thorough as any walkthrough I think I've ever seen on a Friday. It was a scouting report like a day of game scout in a college basketball game. Hicks, quick hitter. Kyle Hicks gets it to the 35-yard line of Kansas. Tornado saved it.
This play wasn't there. You can see. Watch this little route here when he comes up inside. It's really about understanding, making the adjustment. The tandem block here, and then the eyes to see that tandem block. That deuce block's what allowed him to get the push and then work upfield to get the big play.
The bounce outside after he stuttered and brought it inside gave him the clean hole, which is what a great run.
9 rushes, 56 yards for him. That carry was for 23. A couple of yards after contact there, Daniel Wise made the stop. You know, this offensive line led by Austin Schlottman, who was moved over to center after an injury, and he sort of Wally pipped the guy that was in front of him. And then you look at Igwagwu and Pryor, the 2 guards, and Niang and Notebloom, the tackles. They have been stout throughout this season and have helped achieve this balance in run pass that Gary Patterson so desperately wanted. 2nd and 8.
Coming off the edge.
Hill going with the crossing pattern to Dylan Thomas. First time he's caught one tonight. Senior from Frisco, Texas, Centennial High.
Tyrone Miller was out there covering again, number 22. Out here you can see again everybody's backpedaling and in the turn. 22's coming here to try to defend, but not after play. I think the thing that they did, Coach, the blitz look, they picked it up and it was able to get the ball out uninterrupted by the pressure that really attacked them in the first half.
That's exactly right.
19 yards on that pickup. Quick wide receiver screen right there. Ray, touchdown. You love watching those wide receivers block, and they did right here.
Yeah, but I like watching this guy, this big tackle, Lucas Niang. Watch him get out there in front and kick out, Coach. You got your big tackle out there, boy. You got to be sexy. You got to be able to move. You got to be swift. You don't think he likes that? Yeah, I'm out in open space, man.
There isn't any question. That's a whole lot better than blocking down and blocking out on a guy that's big and hairy and right in front of you. He'd much rather get on those 200-pounders as opposed to those 300-pounders.
Don't empty your bucket too fast, fellas. We got a big and hairy and sex in that last call.
Yeah.
Missed the extra point. I get your point of view, however. That was a fantastic opening drive to begin the second half. 6-gun shooter. Fox College Football is sponsored by the 2018 Kia Sorento, by Duluth Trading, tough and ingenious workwear, designed and tested by tradesmen, and by USAA, banking and investments tailored for the military community. So you want to give us a little Nancy Sinatra there, Coach?
These boots were made for walking.
Yeah.
That's just what they'll do. She almost hit the ground. I just want you to know she's a little knock-kneed.
Yeah, that was a big hit, and I knew it was right in your baby boomer wheelhouse. That's why
correct.
I turned to you.
That's correct.
It's not often I'm not the oldest guy in the booth. Here's Charlotte bringing it out. Speaking of those boots, we're going to keep those cowboy boots a-walking here in Fort Worth with America's most popular new segment in college football, Saunders Wonders. Holly, take it away.
Thanks, Tim. Well, in Fort Worth, I wandered over to the famous stockyards where there was fun for everyone. Meeting cowboys, horse and buggy rides. I even made a new friend, a steer named Patron, who wasn't nearly as thrilled as I was, guys. The herd is the single most recognizable symbol of the city of Fort Worth. Yeehaw, Timmy B.
Yeah, absolutely. Saddle up and go. A lot of history there, too. No question about it. We come back to play. The ball is at the 18-yard line. Khalil Herbert is back in the game. Peyton Bender remains the quarterback. Looking for something, and yet another negative play on first down. Kansas, from a rushing standpoint, Bender -21, Hampton -5, Sims -5, Taylor -2, Herbert with 4 rushes for 3 yards.
Well, this is why Les wanted this guy right here, because he lives on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Outstanding play.
Yeah, the right guard is just getting manhandled at this point. The speed.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Blacklock and Bradley have been unbelievable in this game. 90 and 56, right up the middle of Gary Patterson's defense. 2nd and 17. Right up the middle, Bradley. Got him. Right, and by the way, who's with him? The same guy that you just talked about, Les. Blacklock, number 90.
Yeah, he's up the gut, and he's a beast.
You can see the pressures coming here. Both of them get in there. A little inside charge, and he has to get that right arm out there to recalibrate and get it back. And there he comes. Big Daddy.
Gotta turn that boat around that corner.
He'll make you change your mind, man.
That's right.
Look at that. Average yards to go, where TCU has been amazing. 3rd down and 20. Way too many of those for Doug Meacham's offense tonight. And there's a sack, close to a safety. I think they're going to say forward progress has him inside the 1. And it's Blacklock and Banagoo this time. 15 and 90 respectively.
And Matt Bosine got in there too. Again, Coach Company's got to.
That was 3 negative plays in a row. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I feel for Doug Meacham. I really do. Because his offensive line is depleted. He's without his center. The moment all that happened, you got to remember Bender was throwing for some record yardage at Kansas the first few weeks. And since the injuries to his offensive front, they have just been stymied.
They had 3 games over 300 yards passing,
they did.
So they were on a tear.
They were.
Yeah, Bender had a great start. He really had the most of any starting quarterback
at Kansas for a long time.
Yeah.
That's Turpin bringing it back, and he is throttled after the punt by Moose. It was a little bit low. Kansas has 6 first downs in their last 6 quarters. This has been a Horned Frog sandwich all night long in the form of one Peyton Bender. The beat goes on for the Horned Frogs. Number 4 with a bullet, and their former co-offensive coordinator is feeling the pinch. Fox College Football is sponsored by Domino's. Order online and track your order. Skyline of Fort Worth, Texas. Just down I-20 from my hometown. I've visited Fort Worth many times through the years. It's a marvelous place. And even though it's close and very much a part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, I'll tell you.
We about got to Shreveport yesterday.
Yeah, you did. We almost did. And that was to meet.
Lost coming to the stadium.
That was to meet with Sonny Gumby.
That's correct.
Wrong way, Goldfarb. Please come home. Kyle Hicks takes it on the edge, running the stretch play. And they got a late marker coming down. Late flag. I think they got the face mask there while reaching for him. I think Joe Deneen. It was not malicious, but it's 15 yards, and they're going to tag him with it.
Yeah, when they sort this out, Coach should quick take Kansas on the side of the ball in the backfield. 2 missed tackles on that when they do get back to disrupt.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 29, 15-yard penalty, automatic.
They at least forced him out of bounds. You know, it's a shame that this is, you know, he reaches out there and gets a piece, just a piece. Just like.
Yeah, he knows it. No one feels worse, but I tell you, I give that young man a gold star every time out. He and Dorrance Armstrong, who got hurt briefly in the first half, we hope that he's going to be okay and will be back in great stead. In fact, he's back on the field right now. There he is, number 2 at the other defensive end position. Those guys have been giving their all and have not had much of a rest at all. Here's Darius Anderson to the 30 or the 20-yard line. Let's quickly get a game break in Los Angeles from Greg Wolf.
Tim, picks, we go to Beaver Stadium, Michigan, the #1 defense in the country, coming into their matchup with number 2 Penn State, but the Nittany Lions getting it done on the ground. Trace McSorley gets to the outside, 13-yard score, second rushing touchdown to match Saquon Barkley. Nittany Lions lead 28-13 heading into the fourth quarter. Tim, Spencer, Les, back to you.
A little bit like Kansas, not quite as bad, obviously, but that offense for Jim Harbaugh needs a lot of tweaking, a lot of work. O'Korn really struggling since coming in for State. Jalen Austin was the intended receiver there. Pretty good defense, and they were playing the ball, as you like to say, Spencer, good technique there on display by number 13, Hassan Defense.
Well, he's playing an inside-eye technique, giving him the outside, turning around, locating the ball, giving the impression that he's tracking it himself, gives him right to the ball. Again, it's just great defensive play.
Impossible to catch it. It was out of bounds.
Yep.
3rd down and inches here for Kenny Hill. By the way,
there's pressure coming off the side.
Yeah, and a marker down pre-snap. By the way, going back to Penn State, if they hold on and win that game.
Offense, number 64.
If they
5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
That'll set up, and the point I'm trying to make is that Penn State and Ohio State, that's a monster matchup next week that we'll have here on Fox.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. And if they don't win that one, I'm going to feel miserable. Miserable.
Spoken like a Michigan
just
man.
The way it is.
Played for Bo back in the day. Got his career underway as an assistant for Coach Sam Beckler. Darius Anderson in the backfield, out of the gun again. Hill lofting it for the corner. Back shoulder.
I think so.
Raise him up.
Touchdown. Raise him up.
Tyus Williams.
Raise him up. Wait, I'll tell you one thing. It's an interesting thing. Into the boundary, into the short field, I should say. He's throwing the ball out of bounds. But to the field, he puts that thing just where he needs to. That is a really nice throw and catch.
Kyle Mayberry was trying to turn around. He couldn't turn around and locate the ball. And part of that was the great route that was run to put him in there. You can see the little hand fighting. That Williams with a nice job of releasing and freeing himself. And Mayberry just was in bad position on that. He never, ever was able to identify that ball. Nice offensive play, pitch and catch by Kenny Hill and his great receiver.
We have seen him make virtually every throw tonight, fellas.
Well, he has, and I don't know about you guys, and I'm not trying to start anything, but you get the sense that Coach Patterson and this team offensively is trying to prevent what happened in 2014.
Yeah.
They're making a case for themselves tonight.
They are.
Yeah,
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kyle Williams with his first catch this season. And in addition to that, you see what he's been able to do. No doubt about it. Ties with a play. There's efficiency, and then there's Kenny Hill tonight. Look at that. 75% on 3rd down this season. That's the best in FBS. 8 of 9, 177, 4 touchdowns on third down passing. And tonight, on 3rd and 13 and 3rd and 17, he converted for touchdowns. Wow. Gentlemen. Steven Sims Jr. is back deep, awaiting the kickoff. This one may go out prematurely, and he'll be flagged for it. He's upset with himself, and that will bring the ball out to the 35.
And this will be the best field position that the Kansas team has had after a kick.
Yeah.
On the kicking team. By rule, ball will be placed at the 35-yard line, first down.
You know, despite TCU being heavily favored, you know, these teams' last 3 meetings have been tight. We're going to show you now how upset he was over kicking it out of bounds. That's the first big mistake that Cole Bunce has made. But, you know, we touched on how important it is. He's coaching like it's a close game. But, Spencer, your point as we were going to break is so spot on. TCU is number 4 and still being questioned.
That's right.
As whether they are a quality team worthy of being in the college football playoff. As you see Herbert hammering ahead for a couple of yards.
And we talked about how tradition is the currency of our game, and we watched in 2014 Ohio State leapfrog them on the final weekend, and they can't let that happen again. And I think the body of work, if they run the table and remain unscathed with Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas Tech remaining, they will have a strong argument, I think, so that won't happen again. Well, Ohio State sitting there, if they run the table the rest of the way out.
No one's going to consider the Ohio State-Oklahoma head-to-head until we get to the end.
Yeah, but again, the fact that they have beaten Oklahoma, who beat Ohio State, that's going to be huge.
People are upset now that Ohio State's ranked higher than Oklahoma because of head-to-head. Trust me, it'll come into play at the end of the year if both teams stay where they are. This is a beauty pageant we've got going on week by week by week. And lately, Ohio State's looked awfully good, and Oklahoma's been skirting by, as they did tonight. Herbert stopped by Broadnax there, and we've got a 3rd down and 5 coming up.
And one bookend on that note, Tim, I just think the fact that you've got bibliography and footnotes of 2014, I think it makes it less tenable for that to happen to them again. That's the major point.
No question. Could not agree with you more. We live in an era now where it's about the 4 teams and only the 4 teams, even in the hunt for mid-October. That little pass to Hampton is caught on a curl, but again shy of the first down. 2 yards away, and yet another punt formation. Now, I don't understand why you don't just go for it. Why? You're down by 37 points. Your defense needs a break. I'm sorry. I do not understand this. I mean, you got to give your defense a blow. Devontae Turpin is back deep awaiting the kick, and Cole Moose will boot it away. Most punts in a game for Kansas is 15. Back in 1972 against Nebraska, Cole Moose has 8 of them tonight. And here's Turpin from his 10 and takes an angle backward, but look out. This jitterbug can go. Yeah, I think I would have gone for it because you just punted and Turpin did. It's a touchdown. It's 90 yards.
Well, when guys are trying to cover down here, it's oftentimes the more you can stay still, everybody's like a funnel converging down to one spot. And then he comes back the opposite direction this way. Everybody's closed in, kind of like a funnel coach, and you know there's a huge void back the opposite direction. First of all, not very many people have the athleticism and then ultimately the endurance to finish off a run like that, but Turpin does.
That was a great return by him, but there were probably 3 or 4 missed tackles, legitimate athletic missed tackles.
Inside the 5-yard line, you saw the look, that squared jaw on the head coach's face. And Turpin's, that's the second miss. This time it's Bunce that missed. Jonathan Song missed one. Now Cole Bunce has missed one. This guy didn't. His 3rd career punt return. It ties a TCU record. Turpin, quicker than a hiccup in Fort Worth tonight. There you see the 3rd career punt return. We touched on it as we were going to break. That, by the way, ties Lindsey Cole, who had him from between 68 and 69. And Bernard Spearman, 1930 to 32, going pre-World War II on you. He's tied those 2 for the school record. Tonight's game being ably handled by our content coordinator, Scott Alexander, and my spotter, the great Brett Bender, son of Gary, not related to Peyton. And here's Dalen Charlotte bringing it out, and a nice return to the 26 before being brought down. Let's get a game break. I believe this one on baseball with our Greg Wolf in Los Angeles.
Tim, yes it is. Game 7 of the ALCS over on FS1. Winner goes to the World Series to face the Dodgers. Bottom 5-2 on for former Yankee Brian McCann. He delivers a 2-run double off Tommy Kahnle. Houston takes a 4-0 lead going to the bottom of the 6th. Of course, Game 1 of the World Series you can see Tuesday on Fox. Tim, Spencer, Les, back to you.
All right, Greg, it's been a home team series. They've won every game, and I guess, Spencer, as a hometown guy, you live in Sugar Land just outside Houston.
Altuve, baby, Altuve. The bats are alive again. Come on, Astros.
If they can hang on, Houston strong will get into the World Series, and given what's gone on in that city the last month, how much would it mean to them? Taylor Martin was the intended receiver. It goes incomplete, 2nd and 10.
Well, the bats went to sleep in the way stretch it to the Yankees, but they go back alive again back in Houston.
Well, remember, they had a 4-0 lead going into the 6th in Game 3.
Yep, they did.
And it got away from them, so it's not over yet. On 2nd and 10, flush from the pocket, Bender overshoots his intended receiver, Steven Sims Jr.
Once again, he had heat. A couple of Horned Frogs chasing him. It's been a kind of a night. Ross Blaylock, Bradley company.
Oh, the good news about this 3rd down for Doug Meacham is it's only 3rd and 10, not 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 20. Really feel empathy for the plight of this offense, particularly Peyton Bender, because he's just had Horned Frogs living in his backfield all night long. He's got good protection this time. Pass was intended for the tight end, and we've got a flag down. Actually, it was Jeremiah Booker, a really large and physical wide receiver, that targeted Jayhawk, and Ranthony Tejada may have gotten in there too quickly, and this will be a 1st down.
Yeah, Tejada's just about 5'10", 170, but he's a physical player, and he may have gotten
interference. Defense, number 11, spot foul, automatic 1st down.
That is their 2nd 1st down of the night.
Went through his back as the ball was coming. He stayed in contact the entire time on the break.
He's trying to work through Jeremiah Booker, and he's a rather bigger wideout, 6'2", 200 pounds, giving up about 30 to him.
Martin burrows ahead for about a yard, and that is it. Now, we were talking a little earlier about the TCU plight, and I think the image and impression for David Beatty's team remains the same, and you begin to wonder, Spencer, how much longer they can go from a defensive standpoint and keep your guys locked in as hard as they're playing for Clint Bowen when this offense just can't get on track.
That's a great point, and we know by rule it takes more energy to play defense than it does offense, and that's something psychologically is going to play a factor.
Martin again. Boy, every yard comes very tough.
Backside end just came off the edge and just tackled it in the backfield. So
Banagoo, 15. That kid's got a future ahead of him. Meacham trying to stay positive with this young quarterback. Look at that against Iowa State. 3 of 59 plays were, and tonight they've had 0. Wow. Getting close, though. They're getting close to the opposition's territory. 10 yards away from midfield. 3rd and 7. Going empty. 5 wide receiver set.
0.
They dropped him out of zone blitz.
And he's got room. There's a spot. There's Harrell, and it's incomplete. That was Jeff Gladney, number 12. Out of New Boston, Texas, just a sophomore that was in coverage. And it's another punt formation. Boy, he had a step. He did.
He really did. There's a lot of inside the game stuff happening right now. They bailed out. It kind of looked like a zone blitz combination, but it was not it. Ross Blaylock and Chris Bradley both bailed out at the snap of the ball to cover the short intermediate route.
Yeah, they brought guys off the edge and dropped out inside and played 0. I mean, the interesting is the guys inside out were looking for crossing routes.
Yeah.
So.
43-yard boot. Well, it's In the Huddle, brought to you by SoFi, a modern finance company. And Les, we want you to take us inside that huddle. Let us know what's being discussed.
The punter, yeah, those two guys are talking about the kind of night that they're having tonight. This is a place where they're going to punt a lot, and I suspect that they're recruiting probably several punters because they're going to get tired punting the ball.
Well, he became in 2016 the first Big 12 punter to reach double digits in punts. He had 13 last week.
Yeah, come to Kansas.
Yeah, you get
we punt more.
First and 10. Anderson in the backfield.
I don't know if you guys saw that safety almost fall down like they're kind of bailing back. It's just a tough night for Kansas.
It is. And they've had a lot of them, especially on the road. Anderson gets it out to the 23-yard line. Well, this kid from Rosenberg, Texas, out of George Ranch High School, has played so well that that Hicks has gotten fewer carries as a result. And, of course, Alalua is a very physical back as well. They've got a nice committee now for Kenny Hill to turn to.
George Ranch High School right down the road near Katy in Houston, Sugar Land area. It's huge. You don't think football is important here. They got a $70+ million football stadium they just completed out that way. It's unbelievable, Coach.
Wow.
Look at that. That's your Gary Patterson lookalike. I know what he's going to dress up as for Halloween.
Gary Patterson is much better looking than
I wonder
that
if he's got a guitar. I wonder if he's got a guitar.
He can't sing like Patterson.
Gary
He
can
doesn't travel like Patterson. He can't coach like Patterson, I guarantee you.
He can play the folk music at Gary Gann.
What do you say? Alan Jackson was one of his favorites?
Yeah, loves Alan Jackson. Hill gets away from pressure, ad-libs, and then dumps it. That's a nice check down, isn't it, to Anderson? Darius Anderson out to the 45-yard line.
And the value of that play, number one, he spares himself, Kenny Hill, from the pressure. Got a down player on about the 40, Tim. But again, it's just a tremendous job of him moving him out of the pocket, first of all, and then having the presence of mind to see this guy out here, and then just to flick it to him to the outside. He doesn't get tagged by that underneath coverage. Spares himself that and extra yards.
Missed a sack right here. Armstrong just missed a sack right there, and Hill took advantage on the check down. Loneker actually ran into his own man, so it was a little friendly fire that got him as he was running and chasing and trying to find Darius.
Loneker's dad was also a Kansas player and played in the NFL as an offensive line spot, as I recall. So this is a guy who loves the school.
Yep.
And just him and Joe Daheen. He's these guys they have genetic Kansas makeup. They believe in the school.
A lot like Clint Bowen, his defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Very similar, come from the same stock. This young man actually had a role in the movie Underdogs, too. So he got some airtime while he was there. Played big in that win against Texas a season ago. He had 16 tackles for Clint Bowen's defense in the upset of the Longhorns, which was the beginning of the end of Charlie Strong's regime in Austin.
This becomes very difficult to play defense over and over and over again without first downs. And that's kind of what's happening, to Kansas's defensive front. And you root for them because, you want them to play better and have success.
Anderson remains in the backfield. And he's got it up to the 49-yard line. We're talking about the very talented multitasking head coach that is Gary Patterson. He brought props to our meeting yesterday about his road trips, right, Holly?
He did, Tim, and he'll admit that he is superstitious, and for good reason. Before the 2010 season, he took his wife Kelsey to South Africa on vacation. The team went undefeated, won the Rose Bowl, and then in 2014, they went on safari to Tanzania, which is highlighted by scuba diving with, get this, a 12-foot shark amongst many other things. The team went 12-1 that year, so Gary says that his next trip will be to Cape Town. He isn't sure when that will be, but I'm going to take a page out of his book. I'm going to start going on trips, guys, to ensure we have a good broadcast. I'm going to go to Vegas.
Why not? Yeah.
The company will pay for it.
I'm all for it. I like it. I do.
Vegas is a shorter trip than Tanzania and some of these other spots.
But, you know, and Holly knows this. You go to Vegas and they've got golf courses that can take you basically to Ireland. You know, they've got unbelievable golf courses there. So
Holly does such a great job with these coaches. Whatever he's doing, Holly, he must be working. I mean, they've already beaten Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Kansas State. Arkansas included in that group, so that's 4 of the teams that beat them last year.
Yeah,
They've already vanquished, so it must be working.
Halanula is in the backfield now. Shawo is back there, and I think we may have had too much time. Do we have delay of game?
Delay of game.
Yep.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
They hurried to get Halanula in the game. I thought for a moment he was coming in to run Wildcat, but no, they just wanted him to be in the running back position, and I think that got him a little bit behind the play clock.
It's just the 4th penalty for 26 yards tonight. Otherwise, a relatively clean performance for the home team.
3rd and 10. Hill. Well, he had plenty of time, didn't he? That pass incomplete. It intended for Dylan Thomas. Pretty good defense again for Clint Bowen.
Really good defense on the route. They walled that route, and he was covered really when he took an inside move.
Big Boar on the back end of this, number 31. Great coverage. The ball just hit him in the back of the helmet on that play. Just outstanding job of coverage.
Osaz Abegbor, junior from Lorton, Virginia. Nunez will punt it away. Steven Sims is back deep yet again.
Here comes pressure.
Got it off, and this spiral will bound inside the 20, and they're going to let it roll, and it goes dead inside the 15. You know, you were touching on Gary Patterson's bounce backs. Actually, Holly was, based on those trips to Africa. Horned Frogs have been able to do it. After his first losing season, they finished 11-1 in 05. Forged ahead to 4-8 campaign in 13, followed by that 12-1 mark and a top 3 finish in 14. The Horned Frogs were 6-7 last year and are off to a marvelous start this year, obviously. And that goes back to that earlier point, and there's no getting around it. Okay, if you aren't the brand name, and while TCU has tremendous tradition dating back all the way pre-World War II, some of the biggest names in the game, this was a Mountain West team playing outside the BCS conferences. This guy got them into a BCS conference after winning the Rose Bowl, and you see where they are now.
And it doesn't matter what conference, there's a flag on the field. What conference they've asked him to function in, he's had success.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been outstanding.
No.
False start. Offense. Number 65. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
And you have a perfect situation here where the president of the university demanded a statue be built of Gary Patterson. He demanded it. Gary didn't want the statue.
I think that's the right thing.
Yeah.
I think what Gary's meant to the community.
Yeah.
Certainly the school, and I think he's selfless. I think he's just what you should be.
And his defense tonight has just been remarkable. And I don't know that he could ever be a head coach, Les, if he weren't still hands-on calling the defensive plays. I mean, that's who he is. He is locked in as a hands-on defensive coach while being a head coach.
Well, he acknowledged yesterday in our time with him that, you know, coaches by rule tend to be a little control freaks, right? But he figures if I'm going to rise and fall, I'm going to do it on my own merits. And I salute a guy like that who's had great success. There's no disillusion. He is an outstanding defensive mind.
Play fake here for Bender, and he's trying to loft it. Incomplete. We're going to get a marker here on Jeff Gladney, number 12, who manhandled Steven Sims along the boundary. You could make the argument that the pass wasn't catchable, but that was really a mugging along the sidelines. So they're going to call the pass interference here, I think. Or did they pick it up? Maybe they said it wasn't catchable. Therefore,
Pass
they're picking it up.
Defense, number 12.
Yeah, there it is.
15-yard penalty, automatic, so. 1st down.
He shoved him out of bounds.
He really did.
Sometimes when it's that egregious, they're going to get you anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. quickly didn't see the marker, and no conversation was taking place, so I was concerned. But to go back to that point about the statue, the president made sure he put the statue right outside Chris Del Conte's office, the athletic director here. So Chris, who's one of the best athletic directors in intercollegiate athletics, stopped by to see us at halftime.
Correction.
One of the best dressed.
He's great dresser, no doubt about it. In his Horned Frog purple and lavender tonight, he loves, he said, I have to look at my head coach's rear end every day. The back of the statue is facing his office. Ryan Shadler and Taylor Martin, the twin setbacks now, with Peyton Bender at quarterback. Oh, they go reverse. They're going to pass out of this.
They were
going to, but it was well defended by Gladney, and Sims is stopped for yet another negative play by Ennis Gaines.
Just look how many purple shirts around the ball.
Loss of 6 on the trick play. Those negative plays, oh boy. And then there's Turpin, and then there's Kenny Hill in this offense. TCU, a complete team, number 4 and rising tonight. We open the fourth quarter with our game summary sponsored by Dockers Khakis. Ready for anything. You see the difference in total yards, and that sums it all up. As the score would indicate, TCU dominant tonight. Tim Brando, Les Miles, Spencer Tillman, Holly Saunders. And on the first play, Quan Hampton takes the pass and is stopped at the 21-yard line. That's Traven Howard, 32, senior, Longview, Texas. Making the home of the Lobos and those Pine Tree Pirates.
Red clay dirt.
Yeah.
That's where my pop was born. Longview, Texas.
I remember that. Yeah.
good football there.
Yes,
nice
sir.
school.
No question.
Longview Lobos.
Yeah.
Played some high school baseball there back in the day.
Did you?
Yeah. Those schools in North Louisiana were always happy to get to play in East Texas.
Oh,
Blitz off the edge. Looking long, and that's Fairs, Evan Fairs, 19. And it falls incomplete.
We gotta block up the edge.
Yep.
You know, we have to block up the edge because we don't want to get that quarterback just whacked. And
now that's got to be a concern now. But you want to keep Bender and what you have healthy, and hope that Khalil Herbert can stay healthy as well. Look at that. He's amassed 913 yards worth of punts, 22 of them over the last 2 weeks. That's 41.5 per boot. And Les, as you said, you know you're going to miss hit some. He had one shank tonight. That means he's gotten his fair share of good kicks off. 35 yards that time for Moose. Timeout here at Amon G. Carter Stadium. Fox College Football is sponsored by Buick, proud partner of the NCAA. By State Farm, here to help life go right. And by SoFi, a modern finance company that actually helps you get ahead. Cowboy hats abound here in Fort Worth, Texas. Sean Robinson has come in at quarterback. We've seen him on a few snaps tonight. They have a package of running plays that they utilize him. In this offense, Kenny Hill's going to absorb some hits, so they love to give him a break. Sonny Cumbie does. A big body. They use him on design runs most of the time. Freshman from DeSoto, Texas. And he's got Kennedy Snell back there with him. And there goes Kennedy. He is fast, really fast. 4.340, fastest in both the 40 and the 100 for the Horned Frogs. There was no hesitation from Coach Cumbie when I asked who was the fastest on the team. He's got a lot of quick guys, but that's one of them. And there's the evening on Hill. We can close the book. 9 different receivers targeted, 5 touchdowns, 19 of 26, no turnovers, and 278 yards. Spence, that is a far cry from what we saw at the end of last year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the maturation process there. He's made great decisions and protected himself with the little flick that he had earlier in the previous quarter.
Now, people forget a little flare pattern out to the fullback. 38, Dathan Davis plays tight end H-back, junior transfer from, well, he came over from Southern Miss, actually, in the backfield. But he had a great 6-0 start. Remember that game a few years ago at Mississippi State with playing Texas A&M? I think they were number 2 and 3 at the time. He and Dak Prescott, they got blown out. And the season went south for A&M. He wound up transferring. And at that point, you remember, he kind of went on the Thrill Hill thing. And I think he's reinvented himself in a lot of ways, Spence, this kid.
He did. And again, I think it's part of the decision-making process that he does. Against West Virginia, 3 ways passing. He scored,
TCU
running, receiving.
first time out
he
of the
is
half.
a 5'2" player. He's outstanding, as Kenny Hill.
He's really turned it around for himself. Our referee, Mike DeFee, has told us we're going to have a running clock the remainder of the way because of a significant weather pattern. Can you give us the forecast, Spencer?
Well, Timmy, there is a trough or low line of pressure making its way to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, bringing with it heavy precipitation. Tonight's forecast mostly dark with scattered lightness in the morning.
Thank you. You're really good. This sportscasting thing doesn't work out. You're good to go. This is Kennedy Snell in the backfield as a play fake, and going deep that time was Sean Robinson, a little too much. And by the way, the strength and conditioning coach here, Zach Woodfin, we're looking for any highlight that we can give you for Kansas. Take a look at this balance. He never goes down. Never goes down.
There he is.
Dean Blandino has confirmed that Zach Woodfin never went down. Out of Prattville, Alabama, his wife Fawn has got to be happy for him tonight.
Defeats what could have been a block.
Yeah.
never went down, used his hands. I'm telling you, that guy can coach.
It looked like a stumble, fumble, fall drill to me. You remember
Stumble,
that one? Remember
fumble,
that one? Yeah.
There's Snell, and he is taken out of bounds. I like what they decided to do, though, keep the clock running, because this is a significant weather pattern coming in.
The clock.
He's still coaching after that incomplete. He did not want that. Run the ball. I believe it's run the ball, fellas. I've been reading lips for years.
Yes, he's taking the air out of the ball, and he wants it run.
Sonny
Sonny
Cumbie now knows it's time to run the ball. And the freshman Robinson, he read pass, and he decided to chunk it, and Gary went eclectic on him there. It happens. And now we've got a pre-snap foul. Looks like procedure. False start.
This really is a good decision, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
False start.
both teams,
Offense.
Number
especially
56,
5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Especially the Kansas team going to be worn
I don't know
thin.
why the clock operator has not been running the clock now.
No, it's still running.
Well, it is now. But I think they caught it and said, all right, start running it. The referee said to us in that break that there was significant weather coming our way. As you know, those of you that have been watching Fox all evening long, that Manhattan, Kansas, for the 2nd straight week had a delay. This one only 30 minutes, not 3 hours, as was the case a week ago. Here's Robinson, and he's banged up behind the line by Dorrance Armstrong. He's been all over the place tonight. Number 2 got hurt, came back in, and Dorrance has been outstanding in every sense of the word.
Well, he's moving and again staying active, just reaching out. You can always tell easily if a guy is still engaged on defense. There's nowhere to hide. Sometimes on offense, a guy can kind of shroud his engagement level and his tenacity, but on defense, if you're a lagger, you're going to get exposed. And by the way, guys, I think there's a bigger narrative here why Coach Patterson is so adamant about running the ball. He's coaching globally here.
Yeah.
Everybody understands that these coordinators were on this same staff last year. He's not interested in anybody being perceived as embarrassing them intentionally.
Yeah, he and Doug Meacham left on good terms, and he wants to keep it that way. 43-0 timeout. The White Hat brought both coaches to midfield to explain what the circumstances were, and apparently, and we'll hopefully get some explanation on microphone from our referee as to what the circumstances really are, but we're being told that there may be a Big 12 rule that can allow for a shorter clock, but you can't have a running clock, and both coaches have to agree. Carter Stanley now is in at quarterback for the Jayhawks. We've got Dean Blandino on the case back in Los Angeles to help us with all of this, because we had clearly been told by the referee a few minutes ago that the clock would be running. Dean, what say you?
Yeah, I think you can see the clock is running. We just had an incomplete pass, so both coaches have to agree to it, and they can run the clock, and I think that's what we're seeing here. We just had an incomplete pass, and the game clock is still going.
I think it's one of those fluid situations, basically, because we had an official announcement, then we were told that the circumstances were that we could maybe shorten the quarter, but maybe not have the clock continue to run. And maybe David Beatty did not want the clock to run, that he wanted his men to still be able to play and not in some manner seemingly concede by having a running clock. That might have been the debate, Spence.
It could have been, but I saw the body language, what had plays during the break, and both coaches did the fist bump. So they were in agreement. At least the body language suggested that. The clock running, it seemed like it would be the wise thing.
It would be for both teams. Nobody wants to lose a guy going into the back end of the season. Not Kansas, not TCU, and there is real weather. I mean, you know, we just saw. I mean, it's an opportunity for those people to leave the stadium, get home safely.
In most conferences too, and Dean, you may be more aware of this than us, but Les, I know in the SEC, basically, if the coaches agree on anything, you can pretty much do what you want.
You can put it at 6 minutes. You could put it at 5 minutes. You could let the clock run either way. Just as long as it was fair for both teams.
Cole Moose is going to boot it away. But every conference is different. You know, some things are written in and some things aren't, and it all comes down to the letter of the law. So many thanks to Dean for the help on that. 25 yards on the boot. One thing we do know, the clock does not run during the commercial. All right, when we come back, we'll have 8:54 remaining, and the score will still be 43-0. Fox College Football is sponsored by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you. Emptying stadium here at Amon G. Carter, and understandably so. A weather cell is headed our way, hence the clock continuing to run. We think this time around we've seen it stop on occasion, and we've seen it run when we thought it had stopped. We've got Dean Blandino all over it back at our studios in Los Angeles. Here's Snell again, trying to bounce out, reverse his field, cut back against the grain, and a late flag comes down. And the clock stopped after the flag. Just thought I'd point that out.
So the stop clock, we stop the clock when there's a commercial.
Or a flag, apparently.
Or a flag.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Illegal block in the back. Offense number 88. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Replay first down.
See, these wind gusts are coming up, and my concern now is that we could have, if this weather cell gets in here and we've not completed the game, then what? Is the clock running now? I believe it is. Okay, good. Because there are a lot of people here that have vacated the premises. It is homecoming, so the band is still out there, and they want to enjoy themselves, and I'm sure the rest of these fans and a lot of the students that want to be a part of homecoming want to enjoy it. So let's move this thing along, shall we? Robinson staying in. Clock should continue to run, and it does. And it does.
That's good. Closer.
There's the radar, because the last thing you want to see is suspended play with this little time remaining in a 43-0 game.
Yeah, TCU may be veterans in this kind of thing, but we don't need to gain any more experience in that area.
Indeed. Tell you this, a lot of times, particularly given the metrics that we have in the college football playoff era, beating a team like Kansas doesn't help you, it only hurts you. But I don't see that tonight from TCU. I think this was an authoritative win that the optics tell you all you need to know. Kansas defensively played hard, played well, but TCU had answers, and they were balanced, and they did less what you're supposed to do to an inferior opponent. They got on the jugular and didn't let off.
That's right. They were dominant. They had balance, running past. They made big throws. That quarterback Hill really had a great night, and they got him out of the game in the fourth quarter, and they're still moving the football.
With the thought process on the Big 12, Spence, coming in has been, they don't play a lot of defense. Well, talk to Glenn Spencer about his defense at Oklahoma State today.
Yep.
How about that defense that Orlando threw up against Oklahoma State's offense? Todd Orlando's defense.
It's all relative.
I mean, and now you see TCU. Gary Patterson's got clearly the best defense in this league. You can make a case that Texas took a page from what Gary did against Oklahoma State effectively tonight. And now the record says it all. I mean, they're not just the best defense, they're the best team in this league.
I agree 100%. They lead the conference in rush defense. I mean, they lead the conference in rushing offense. They're balanced. Their quarterback has total command of what they're trying to accomplish. Yep. And again, the year-over-year results speak for themselves.
You saw those key games, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Bedlam. Spencer and I had the honor of calling that game last year. It meant the Big 12 title, but it was de facto. There was no conference championship game. Now we have one at Jerry World on December the 2nd. So run through this league undefeated, you still have to do it again against someone, whether that's Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. But if you're asking the question among those three teams, who has the best chance of winning it, how can you not say TCU at this stage, fellas? I mean, really, they're in the best position given their schedule, who they play and where they play them, to be in a position to win this league, or at least to be one of those two teams just a few miles away over in Dallas where the Cowboys play.
I think to really appreciate the anatomy of this reclamation project that Gary Patterson has done, you got to go dig down. Those four teams I mentioned a minute ago, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Kansas State, they lost to those teams by a combined 136-60 a year ago, and they've defeated them this year by a number of 129-68. So if you're talking about total and complete, reversing your fortunes, I mean, there's that triangle that he's got over in the athletic facility that says
pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramid.
Mm-hmm. There's no conciliation there. It's all about taking what you want, and that's what they've done so far this year.
Borrowed the page from John Wooden's Pyramid of Success.
Yep, that's right.
And they're painting it in. A little more purple will go in after tonight. They're more than halfway home to an undefeated season. This one goes through the end zone. Time now for the expectation-shattering drive of the game, sponsored by Buick. Fellas, it's the 4 third-down conversions, all for touchdowns, all to different receivers.
The creative way they did it, Timmy, with the pass in the middle of the field, on the edge, beating safeties down, getting outstanding effort by the wideouts. And the run game was as well a part of it. But again, it was the arm of Kenny Hill finding receivers. Look at the way he painted this field.
Oh, man.
Every aspect of the field had stress on it tonight, putting the Jayhawks in a tough bind. And that guy right there.
Sonny Cumbie. Coach, I don't know of a guy that – Bob Stoops did it when he hired Mike Leach when he took the Oklahoma job. When Gary Patterson made the commitment to go spread with the understanding you have to score a lot of points to win, even though he's a defensive-minded coach, it really said a lot about what he was willing to do and adapt to the kind of game you have to play in this league.
There's no question. You have to score. You have to have that. You have to have that spread philosophy. I mean, you know, if you look at this conference, I don't know of a team that's playing without a spread.
Yeah, you got to have some form of it in your package. Carter Stanley, as we mentioned, is in there at quarterback.
Stanley just laid some leather out there on that last play. There's no give up in him.
By the way, there are a few people in certain parts of the country that would have some impact over a Kansas touchdown drive. We shall see. In the land of toothpicks and great hopes.
Oh,
yep.
Yes.
Carter Stanley stopped at the 29-yard line. Nothing you can do about a running clock, though.
Yeah, it's
Just thought I'd point that out.
It's going to eventually run out on you.
That's right.
Especially with the score 43 for TCU.
You know, we're going to see Doug Meacham and this coaching staff next week. Spencer, we've got Kansas State, and you know, there's nothing more difficult than to be in the position that these men are in, trying to get their guys to rally around and play. But at a certain point, you have to have a modicum of success to get everyone to buy in. That's Thompson, Darren Thompson. And I know this about Meacham. He's been successful everywhere he's been. He helped put this TCU run together offensively with Cumbie. If he can get some of his offensive line healthy again, maybe things will change and be the way they were when they were, you know, getting over 300 yards of pass offense in those early games.
Timmy, prior to the 6 and 7 season a year ago, David Beatty gets a guy who was one part of the dynamic duo. There was no more white-hot tandem of offensive coordinators in all of America for a couple of years there. They had Boykin and company. They were tearing it up.
Thompson again gets it up to the 39-yard line. Again, a reminder, the Big 12 championship is here, and it's going to be on Fox on December the 2nd at Jerry World. These are your teams right now that are the leaders in the clubhouse, but it's TCU that has that win against Oklahoma State. They get Oklahoma in the land of Boomer Sooner on November the 11th. But remember, Oklahoma still has a tough road to hoe as well. And Oklahoma State just got by. I mean, just got by today. That was a game that Texas really let slip away. Thompson again. Felt for the young man, Ellinger, in that last drive, because Spencer, if you were watching the game, he got hammered on like a first down play. And I thought maybe he'd gotten his bell rung a little bit.
I thought he did when it hit the back of his head.
And then, but I don't think there was any reason for any concussion protocol. But when he threw that ball to a wide open defender, no one was there. I thought he felt he was throwing it to one of his own teammates.
I agree 100%. I know that's a lot to surmise about what was happening, but there was literally no reason to throw that ball where he threw it.
It was like it was akin in basketball to Freddie Brown throwing it to James Worthy in the '82 national championship game. Like similar uniform, and you're like, oh, I thought that was my guy, and it was the opponent. In today's college football, across the stories that we mentioned the Oklahoma State survive and advance game. Oklahoma comes from 14 down to beat Kansas State. That was a heck of a game that Gus and Joel had. And Penn State just absolutely blows out Michigan. And Notre Dame just hammered USC. 49-14 the final. That ends, in my opinion, fellas, that closes the book on the Pac-12. I don't think they've got a chance of getting a team in the college football playoff now. Not after.
Thanks to Washington and
Washington State last week. Yeah, he had a fumble, but it was recovered by the quarterback, Carter Stanley.
And, just to put that USC and Notre Dame score, they had split their last 8 contests, man, and to show you how competitive that series has been. But today it was totally dominated.
The same thing happened to USC. Granted, on a different level, they lost all those offensive linemen.
Yep.
And they haven't recovered from it. They were barely winning, just got by Utah last week. It finally caught up to them today.
Well, they started that season a house of fire.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they look like a dynamic offense and a defense with speed and can make tackles. So I don't know. I think this Notre Dame team may be for real.
I hope they're not the version of 2000. Was it 2012 when they navigated undefeated all the way to the national championship?
And got hammered by Alabama.
Alabama crushed them.
There's a lot of good teams that get hammered by Alabama.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of great coaches, too.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
There's your final. Gary Patterson consoling and thanking a man that he respects quite a bit, David Beatty, who has been nothing but class. And we wish him well. We'll be seeing him, Spencer and I, next week for that interstate rivalry with Kansas State. Our final 43-0. TCU 7-0. And in the catbird seat in the lead of the Big 12. We'll be back to wrap it up for you here on Fox in just a moment.